Have you ever stopped and just asked yourself how many common riders are there? Not just forms, just how many common riders? And then what actually qualifies as a common rider? I'm not talking about things like machine chaser, gold drive. Sorry, gold drive. I'm talking if you were going to make a list of every single common rider, would this thing appear on it? This thing hasn't got a name. This thing appeared in one episode. Not one episode, what, like two panels in a comic. What is it? I mean, looks nice. I mean, it's in black and white, so we don't even know what colours it is. Well, I asked myself those questions. Ultimately, my goal with this mod is to add every single common rider and every single form. But by saying every single, there's a lot of common riders and a lot of forms that there just isn't enough information or there is just no quality pictures. So, because of this, I set myself a set of rules. This, these rules help me qualify whether or not a common rider is eligible to be in the mod or not eligible to be in the mod. And throughout the years, I have actually been asked, will you add this rider? Will you add that rider? What about this? Hopefully, I remember to edit in pictures of things so I could go, oh, look at all these weird things. But I'm hoping by explaining some of the qualification rules on adding things, you can help me. Either suggest things I didn't know, suggest things that I could add in the future, or just, I don't know, not ask if I'm going to add this thing. I'm going to get on to talking about this thing later. But let's get on to these rules. So, these are the rules, the restrictions on everything. Now, if you have any suggestions for additional rules or that I could add, I could happily do a follow-up video with some amendments to these rules or some new rules. So let's get on. Number one, rider must have all of the following: a name. There are countless riders without names, and now I could just add them as unknown Geats rider number one, unknown Geats rider number two, but I don't like that. So ultimately, they need a name. They need a good picture or video. So things like this. This is a stage show rider. Now, ultimately, we don't have a name, but we have things we could work with it. But literally, that is the only picture. That is all we have. I can't base anything off that picture. And lastly is a known source. I know this kind of sounds stupid, but it's kind of a rule of thumb. You need to know where something is from, and just because it's on the wiki doesn't mean it's correct. It's kind of a thing. If you've ever written up anything or done any proper kind of documentation or that, they always say never trust Wikipedia. Don't use Wikipedia as a source. I'm kind of the same way with this mod. Just because it's on the wiki doesn't mean it's correct. There is countless things on the wiki that I disagree with. So I'm not going to blindly trust the wiki. I don't have a problem. I do use the wiki to find out stuff. But as soon as I know it's on the wiki, then I start doing research elsewhere just to confirm that the stuff's on the wiki. I don't blindly trust the wiki. This isn't beef with the wiki. You just need to remember that the wiki isn't officially licensed, so therefore not everything on there is 100% guaranteed to be correct. Hopefully, I don't have to explain that. So, these are the main three rules. These are the musts. Examples of riders that don't meet the three criteria, perhaps riders that meet two, but not all three. Um, Number one, as I said, there's plenty of Geats riders without a name. We know what they look like. Even if we don't have the most high clarity or high detail image, we can actually kind of work out what the rest of their body would look like. So they're easy enough. Riders that don't have a good picture or video. I mentioned that this stage show rider, but another example of a rider that doesn't have a good picture would be some of the riders from the novels. For example, Kamen Rider Death, I believe, is one. Um, Another one are the two riders from Geats. Well, there's countless riders from Geats where we got the ID calls. I believe Tutor is one of the two GM riders. We also have Days Toe, because we know what they look. We know what most of they look like. We just don't know what the head looks like. We don't know. Well, we know what the riders' names are. We know what the ID codes look like. We know what everything looks like, but because we don't have a good quality picture, we can't add them. And known source. There's a countless kind of things. For example, this one. This is listed on the wiki as Kamen Rider Zetsu, a stage show rider from Kamen Rider 01. That is it. That is all we know. And from my research, it is very likely that Zetsu is a mistranslation of Hirobi. This isn't Hirobi. And the stage show it says it's in is indoors. This picture is clearly outdoors. So even if this is a Kamen Rider, we don't know where it's from. So I'm not going to add it just in case it's not. So that's it for rule one. Every rider needs those three things. Now there are riders that I have added in the past. For example, Kamen Rider Icarus from the Kamen Rider Forze, Kamen Rider Zero Ghost from the Ghost novel. But both of those have pretty detailed descriptions of what they meant to look like. And to be honest, I probably shouldn't have added them with these rules, but I'll get onto that later. Rule number two. Yes, that was just rule number one. Rule number two. Every rider must be from one of the following: the main show / movies. Now, I'm going to count spin-offs, official spin-offs, kind of things like this, like Outsiders. Outsiders, I'm classing under this category. Actually, I just noticed one of the other categories say spin-off or other official media. Outsiders would class into that. So, yeah, just ignore me. So, main show or movie? Main stage show. This excludes smaller stage shows. Now, the reason for this is a lot of the smaller stage show stuff, there is very limited information on. Now, in the past, I have added some of the smaller stage show stuff. For example, Kamen Rider Lady or Actually, no, wait, Gemdios Muteki, one of the bigger ones. The Kronos Bugster, the Chronicle Bugster, I think. Even though those are lesser stage shows, I like them. So, meh. Plus, they were added before these rules. An official toy line. If it's from an official toy line, then we can also add it. This would include things like the SIC exclusive forms. Now, there's going to be a rule later on going through what does or does not qualify when it comes to toy stuff. because that was one of the first amendments I had to make to these rules after I originally posted them. So, yeah, and then other official stuff. So, spin-offs. I set up for official media here, and I use manga as an example. For example, the Kuga manga. I will go into things with the Kuga manga later on, but for example, just off the top of my head, other official stuff would include uh, the official social media accounts associated with stuff. For example, this picture here with some of the random Gotchiznos for a giveaway thing, as well as there was various things shown on the Saber site, various forms and that were not shown elsewhere. So that's what the official other official media classes is. Rule 3. If it is stylized, for example, SIC, it needs to be kind of unique. For example, this here is what the SIC version of Drive looks like. That's just the SIC version of Drive. So I'm not going to add the SIC version of Drive because that's just Drive. Essentially, I always try and convert stylized things to a uniformed style. So, for example, if I take the SIC drive and then translate it through to something that looks like in the show, it would be just Drive from the show. So, any any unique stuff needs to actually be intended to be unique, not just a stylized take. It has to be something unique. Now, I have made exceptions to this rule in the past. For example, this version of Shadow Moon. But for the most part, stylized, it needs to be unique. For example, trying to think of one that is actually unique. These two versions of Oja Survive. This one's SIC, this one's Outsiders. Now, the SIC predates the Outsiders, but it is actually explained that these two forms are using different Survive cards. So it's not the fact that the form just doesn't translate, it's the fact it is actually a different form. So stylized does not mean different form. That's essentially what Rule 3 means. Actually, I've just scrolled down and for example, Wizard is just Wizard. Yeah, yeah. This is Wizard or Dragon. This is SIC Wizard or Dragon. It might look very different, but they're the same thing, okay? Okay? Unless I'm thinking of Infinity or Dragon. Am I thinking of Infinity or Dragon? I'll put the images here in. Rule 4. This is a very, very important rule. No fan stuff. I'm trying to restrict this to just official stuff. So therefore, fan-made content. I'm going to exclude. The only exceptions is if I need something crafted. For example, um, I need to think of something. There's something I've added. Nope, I've removed that. There's got to be something. There's got to be something. I can't think of one off the top of my head. There's got to be something. Oh, I don't know if it's still in, but this is this is Kamen Rider Chronos. This is Chronos Gemdios. Now, in the show, they both used the same item to change forms. But that's a bit boring because as soon as you get the one, you get the other. I figured to make my own gash out. It's meant to be the same thing, but it by making them look different, it's easier to keep track. That's a bad example, but it was the only example I could think of. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, forgive me. Yeah, forgive me. Okay. I hope you've said yes. Theoretical forms don't count as fan forms. So if we know what the form would look like and we know the form exists. For example, I use the example Gaim Budo arms. Believe it or not, you know the kind of basic block seeds? They're like one LS1 through to is it like 13 or 15 or something like that? The only one Gaim didn't use out the main riders was Budo. Gaim used like all of the others. Gaim didn't use Budo. So Gaim using Budo arms would be a theoretical form. So technically it would count as a fan form for do it, but we kind of know what it works because we understand how the series works. So that isn't classed as a fan form. It's classed as a theoretical form. Now, it's a very, very thin line, well, grey line in between fan form and theoretical. But hopefully, hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from with that. Rule 5. I list this as the most important rule. Okay, you ready for this one? If I find something interesting, I can break any of these rules. Now, you might see me say this in the back, in other places, like this form's going to be rule 5. Yeah, this is what I mean when I say it's going to be rule 5. Um, examples of this would probably be, yeah, some of the minor stage show stuff. Actually, that would be a pretty good example. There's probably some better examples, but this is a rule I'm not going to try and use and abuse, but occasionally I find something and it's just too interesting and adding. I'm just going to add it. Now, this is mainly to affect rule 1 or rule 3. Actually, rule 2 as well. So, this doesn't apply to the rule 4. Rule 4 with the non-fan stuff, this doesn't apply. So, it still has to be an official thing. But, for example, if I find something from a smaller stage show that I really like, I could just add it. If I find something from the SIC where it's borderline in between stylized and an actual thing, for example, like this Shadow Moon that I mentioned earlier, I can add it. It's a rule I'm going to try and not abuse. I just added it because occasionally there's just something and it's just too awesome and I just have to add it. I really hope you understand it. Rule 6. Now, this rule 5 was originally the last rule, but I added this one just so I can explain some things with toy exclusive forms. This is the newest rule that's been added. Might add some more rules after this video. Let me know if you can think of anything. But rule 4, not rule 4, sorry, rule 6. Toy exclusive forms are disqualified if they are purely to show the function of the toy. What does that mean? This means there are countless things where the toys are compatible with each other, but their forms are not compatible. For example, this monstrosity was posted on the Sodo blog. So it is an officially recognized thing, which is essentially they just stuck a whole bunch of toy stuff together. Sodo candy toy stuff. That is really ugly. Another example that I keep on going to is this thing. This thing was used to advertise the was it RFK rider kick figure? No, not RF. RKF. RKF? I have no idea. But it was the second release of Zero One. The original release of Zero One was just Zero One Rising Copper. The second release came with parts, so you could swap it out to be Fighting Shark, Flaming Tiger, um, Freezing Bear, say, and Flying Falcon. Were the others the four? I haven't got the picture in front of me, so I can't remember. So I'm wrong, and all right. But with the fact it came with the parts, so you could swap out the combo, so you can mix and match and go in between all the forms. They added this to the box to show the fact that you can make your own forms. So this is an official picture, but it's not an official form. It's intended more to show off what you can do with the toy and not actually intended to be its own unit. I might roll 5 this into the mod at some point because this is kind of awesome. But ultimately, it's not actually intended to be a form, so yeah. Another example of this would be Geats riders pretending to be other past riders. I mean, Buffer pretending to be Gem. I really want to add these at some point. It's hilarious, but I'm not going to. This rule was specifically made to stop me adding stuff like this. But I want to. And it's the whole point of these rules, ultimately. There are countless things I want to add. But ultimately, they don't qualify against one of these rules. And if I just open the floodgate and add everything, then this mod will take another 20 odd years. I don't know. And I do want to actually somewhat get this mod at least somewhat complete. It'll never be complete as long as Rider exists because there will always be new riders. But I really want to get one day. I dream this mod will be mostly complete, only missing current stuff. And if I don't have these rules, that day will never come. So hopefully you can understand this. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a rambly video. And hopefully this gives you an idea of things that I want to add. So if you've enjoyed this for even a split second, please do consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Ready? Any and all support is so greatly appreciated. So till next time. Goodbye.